This is Gene Adam, former lead singer of Iced Earth. Be sure to subscribe to Podcast and Stone, and don't forget, join our community on social media. Metal lives.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Iced Earth community, this year, welcome to Podcast and Stone, the only podcast 100% dedicated. This is really hard to do. That's a hard voice to do. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Podcast and Stone, the only podcast 100% dedicated to Iced Earth. As you can tell, we are on video. We solved the video crisis of 2019. Yeah, Skype updated this morning, so we were able to do video again. Huzzah! I am joined, as always.
That's awesome.
I'm joined, as always, by the incomparable Chuck Hoskins. Today,
Happy New Year, Jason.
Happy New Year to you. It's a big year for me, man.
First episode of the year.
If you don't count John, because that did drop by New Year's Day. So is it?
Yeah. Well, it's our first filming.
It's our first recording of the year, yes. So yeah, today we just wanted to talk about. Actually, I'm going to throw it out because I thought you might as well. Basically, I was looking through some old episodes, like through in the comments, and someone commented on the Dystopia episode. Man, that feels like it was fucking forever ago, Chuck.
Sure does.
Probably because it was forever ago. Yeah, I was looking through the comments and somebody commented saying that they would like an episode where we talk about me and Chuck, how we discovered metal and what kind of led us to do the podcast, which I think we've spoken about before, but there's no problem in like you can't jump into that topic again. But and about an hour ago, I threw out a last minute Q&A, so we're going to end this. We're going to cap this episode off with a Q&A after a little chat around. It's going to be a chilled out one today, guys. You know, it's a new year. It's all about propelling forward. The biggest of thanks to John Schaefer for giving us 4 hours of his time. We can't thank you enough.
Exclusives.
And some first for the world exclusives, man. Like the fact that, you know, April 12th, you know, gives us 30 year anniversary of Enter the Realm, and it's coming out on vinyl for the first time. And I'll tell you this, guys, I am just over my. I can't even get my words out, man. I'm beside myself. I cannot wait until you guys see the artwork for the remastered Enter the Realm.
Yes.
Like we were privileged enough for John to show it to us. Off air, obviously, but I'm really excited for him to reveal that to the fandom, and because it is some of the best artwork I've ever seen Iced Earth put out. And I'm not just saying that because John said it. I genuinely mean it. The two guys he's got working for him doing the artwork, they are tremendous artists. Yeah, I can't wait. So yeah. Seriously, like John, looking at the camera. John, like, thanks a lot for everything you've done to help our podcast grow and all the support you've given, man. You are a dude. You are the hardest working man in metal. He fucking tore his bicep. Did you read about that? And he fucking played a tour. Hardest working man in metal. Fucking John Schaefer. Metal lives. John Schaefer style. So, yeah.
And for those of us that follow the Facebook group, Gene Adam will be rescheduled very shortly. We had some technical issues with Skype, and we put it off until we figured it out, so Gene is coming soon.
Indeed. And many more this year as well.
Many more, yes.
Man, 2019, there's so much going on this year for me personally. You know, I've got a trip to America coming up into September, which is going to be a big deal for me because I haven't left the UK in 10 years. So it's going to be a really big step for me in terms of like spreading my wings and going flying. So I get to experience what a 9-hour flight is going to be like. Great fun. I'm going to Orlando. And the first weekend there, I do believe it's the first weekend there, I'll be getting the train up to Tampa. A train out to Tampa and meeting up with Gene Adam, Bill Owen, and friends, including my good friend, co-host, Chuck Hoskins here.
I'll be Florida bound, buddy.
Are you driving in the end, or are you going to fly it? What was your decision?
I'm just gonna drive.
Is it cheaper for you there? It's a long
It's
drive
just,
though, right?
you know what? I'm going to just enjoy the trip.
That's fair enough, man.
I've never drove to Florida, so it's time.
Always
And
time.
also, recently in the news is Demons and Wizards coming to the UK.
Yes, that's like I hope that show sells out, because I think what John was saying, where he doesn't feel there's much of a presence for demons in the UK. And I think if I'm hoping the show sells out, because I think it the UK fans need to prove that there's a market here, because I think there is. I think there, maybe not for a festival. I understand where he was coming from when he was talking about Blussick Festival and how they didn't offer enough money for them to make it worth the trip. That makes sense. But I think for headline shows, I think there's definitely a market here for Demons and Wizards. I think there's definitely fans biting at the bit that will undoubtedly be unable to go to London, because it's the only shows in London, which is a shame, because it cuts out a lot of people that live, Scotland, Wales, and elsewhere in the country. But I do hope it sells out. I hope it shows them that they've got a market out here, which I think it will. I think it'll sell out quite quickly. I'll be going. I'll be going, of course. Of course I am.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's some really cool news. By the sounds of it. And
Now,
yeah,
I also saw that Luke had some acoustic dates. Are there any near you for Luke?
I've not looked at them, if I'm honest.
Okay.
As you can tell, I've got my little Luke frame that I made
That is
up.
awesome.
I love it. I was so happy. I was so happy about it.
His EP was so outstanding. I can't wait to hear the follow-up.
I'm super excited for his album. I really am. I feel like I don't really listen to much acoustic stuff, but something about Luke's songs is that they just grab you. They got such a hook.
Right.
And he calls it acoustic metal when he plays live, and I 100% agree. It is literally like if metal was played acoustically, that's what he plays. And it's awesome.
The Three-Eyed Crow is so darn catchy. I love that song. Such a cool tune. I wish it was on vinyl, but I'll take CD.
So yeah, I saw this comment. I think did I get to that already? I've lost I lost my train of thought.
Our intros to metal.
Yes, and our what led to doing the podcast. Start with you, Chuck, as you're the older one. What was your I like to call gateway bands? What was your gateway bands to really kind of thrust you into the world of heavy metal?
Well, when I was early age, my father was actually still is a bluegrass musician. So I grew up always having bluegrass and country music in the house. But I had two older brothers that was my saving grace, and we had a record player. And I remember we had 4 records. We had a Queen record that had another one, Bites the Dust. I forget what the name of the title is. And we had Casey and the Sunshine Band. And we had AC/DC Back in Black. And we had Kiss Destroyer. So I gravitated to the Kiss and the AC/DC. So even at a young age, there was something about the harder stuff that I was just immediately drawn to it. So I'd have to say Kiss and AC/DC was my intro to hard rock music.
Cool, man. What led you to get into the heavier side of metal?
Back then, of course, this is pre-internet. So was Headbangers Ball a big deal for you guys?
Not for me personally. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what its impact was in the UK, but it didn't do anything for me.
When I was a teenager, every Saturday night at midnight, that's where I was. I mean, that's where I got my metal. That's where I seen it. It was visual. So that's where I learned about, Maiden, Priest, and other, eventually Metallica and Anthrax. So that's where I had my introduction to Slayer and all those guys was through that. So Headbangers Ball was crucial to me. You know, I remember seeing the bands on there, and when they would have a world premiere, you know, it's so funny. I think back to going to record stores when I was young and not knowing what was out. Like you knew Judas Priest was due to have an album out soon. But I mean, now you know the exact day they're going in the studio. You know, you got an exact date sometimes 6 months before. But back then you didn't know. So it was really cool to watch Headbangers. Headbangers Ball was huge as far as sculpting my metal awareness and my love for metal. And I used to read a metal magazine called Metal Edge. I used to always read the reviews. They'd have like the new CDs out, they'd review it, and they'd talk about who's on tour and stuff. So, how about you? What was your intro to metal?
Um, I do bring up my cousin a lot. I don't know if I bring him a lot up. I bring him up a lot, right? 'Cause I swear I feel like I talk about him all the time. But yeah, he was in like bear in mind, I got into metal like, you know, late 90s, like 98, 99. When new metal was a big thing, like, you know, Linkin Park, Slipknot, Korn,
Corn.
Static X. And I remember my cousin introducing me to Linkin Park, and I don't know what it was. I really gravitated to Linkin Park. I don't anymore, but that's a different story. But yeah, their first album, Hybrid Theory, I remember listening to that, just resonating with it, loving the like guitars and stuff like that. You know, the harsher side of that band. And then I remember my cousin mentioned a band called Slipknot. Obviously, everyone knows who they are now. They're like massive, and they had just released their first album at this point. Like, it was like brand new. And I remember going to a local record shop in town. It's not here anymore. It's long gone. I can't miss it because it was like a small independent record shop, and they used to sell vinyl and CDs and that. And I remember picking up the first Slipknot album. It was second hand. It was like £5. It was really cheap. I bought that, and I bought the Offspring's Smash album because I heard that I heard I forget what song I heard on Krang. I heard a song by Offspring, but I forget what it was. But I bought one of their albums because I heard a song and I liked it. So yeah, Linkin Park, Slipknot, and The Offspring were really kind of like the three gateway bands for me for getting into metal. Obviously, Slipknot was a lot more extreme in that regard. You got kind of like three different flavors there. You got Linkin Park, which are new metal, The Offspring, which are kind of pop punk, whatever you want to call it. Then you've got Slipknot, which were the metaler of the bands, the really aggressive, heavier stuff. And then from that, I kind of just like would watch like Krang TV, and would discover bands like In Flames. Love In Flames, or I used to. They've gone downhill recently, but I got into In Flames back then. Really got into. They used to be my favourite band before I discovered Iced Earth. In Flames were my favourite band, funny enough. Got into them really a lot. Discovered Iced Earth in 2000. Changed my world, as you probably can imagine.
Sure.
And then after that, I got into a lot of death metal. I didn't discover Iron Maiden until 2003. I went to there's a festival called Download Festival here.
Okay.
I went to the first one. It was in 2003. It was originally called Monsters of Rock Festival, but then it was changed to Download Festival. I went to the first one when it changed name, and Iron Maiden played, and they just blew my mind. And I really got into Iron Maiden, got a massive kick. I bought loads of Iron Maiden stuff, got really into Maiden. And then it's just kind of like just from there really. I just got I kind of went through phases. Like I went through the metalcore phase, so I got into bands like Killswitch Engage and Trivium and Avenged Sevenfold and bands like that. Then I discovered death metal, a Cannibal Corpse, Obituary, and it just goes on and on. I could talk about my journey through metal for fucking ages. So I just even to this day, I'm always discovering bands because I want to discover new music. That's what I love about music. Is that there's always something new out there that you haven't found yet. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it.
would you ever just buy a album off the cover alone
Oh,
back then if you had never heard of them?
all the time, and I would be
Yeah,
disappointed.
me too.
I'd be disappointed majority of the. More often than not, I'd be disappointed. Because sometimes the cover does not represent the album, what the music, what you're getting at all. It could be in the metal
Right.
section, like in the CDs. Like we got a CD chain called HMV over here, which stands for his master's voice, and they'll have this massive metal section, but it just doesn't necessarily mean you're getting metal. It's just what HMV deems to be metal. So you might buy an album and it might be completely like soft emo stuff. That's not metal at all. So I'll buy something that has a wicked album cover, but it's utter shit that's on it, you know.
Right.
It's like, fuck's sake, you go and get a refund and then buy something else that is disappointing. But yeah, I used to do it a lot. I used to buy Metal Hammer magazine as well, so I used to go by their reviews as well.
Yeah.
I discovered quite a few bands through that magazine as well. And they I think they still do. They do sample the CDs, but they have a CD with a bunch of artists on. And I remember one band who I still really like to this day. I heard one song by them. They're called Scar Symmetry. They're like a Gothenburg kind of melodic death metal band. And I heard one song by them called The Illusionist. Incredible song. And I listened to it the next day. I went out and bought their album straight away, like in a heartbeat, because that first song, thankfully the whole album was incredible. Because have you ever done that? Did you ever do that? You buy an album based on one song you've heard,
Sure.
and the album's either going to be fantastic throughout, or that's the only good song on the record. The amount of albums that I've bought based on one song, I tend to not like most of the songs on the album from different bands. But yeah, a lot of experimentation with bands, a lot of just buying on a whim, like you said, like buying on an album art and buying on just based on one song, or you might like the music video or something, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm people go like, oh, how did you get into metal? Like, I'm still getting into metal, to be honest. 19 years later almost, or a bit longer than that, about 21 years, 98 I think I got into it sort of. But yeah, when someone said to me, oh, how did you get into metal? I like to answer that question. I'm still getting into metal because I'm still discovering stuff. Discovery does not end. Do you know what I mean? In my mind anyway, I'm always discovering new bands, and
Sure.
it's awesome.
Or even older bands that are new to you.
Yeah, like fucking hell, like X Japan. Have you heard X Japan?
Mm-mm.
They're this massively famous like metallic rock band from Japan. They're really famous. Never heard them. Listened to them once. Great band. But they're really old. They're like 80s. Great band. Do you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. I love when you discover a band that's like fucking centuries old. You're like, well, fucking this band's awesome. Right. But yeah, like, as my journey goes, my journey hasn't ended. I'm still discovering bands. I'm still getting into metal. I remember being 16 and working a part-time job at a supermarket, and my boss saying like, "Oh, what music are you into?" I'll be like, "I'm into metal." And he's like, "Oh, you'll grow out of that soon."
Nope.
Fuck off, sir. Like I never understood that. Did you ever get that? It's just a phase. You'll grow out of it soon. Like I never understood that.
No, you get the typical, oh, I can't understand that, and then whatever. Some of you can't, I don't care what anybody's opinion is about what I like.
Yeah, I know exactly. Like if I said to a kid that's playing football, like soccer, like UK football, if I said to him, it's fine, it's just a phase, you'll get out, you'll grow out of it, I'll have probably all his mates jump me around an alley or something and beat me up. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you can't say that to anybody. If that's what they like, that's what they fucking like,
Right.
And they say grow out of it. What about bands that have been going for 30 years? Do they grow out of it? No, they didn't. Like, I don't understand that argument. That's a stupid argument. People who say that, you're stupid. There you go, I said it. Rant over.
So we were going to talk about, was we going to talk about how the podcast got started also, or did we already cover
Yeah,
that enough?
I know we've brought it up from time to time, but I just thought maybe we can
Just
like
recap.
just recap, yeah, because I think it's
Okay.
quite a you know when John was saying in the interview how the universe is aligned for him to
Right.
meet to rekindle with Gene. It kind of like universes aligned, and like he found purgatory stuff in his archives, and he saw our interview with Gene, and he reached out to Gene, and it kind of one thing to another.
Right.
I think the same thing kind of happened with us and how we met and how the podcast
Right.
just kind of became. I think I'm not a religious person by any means. I don't believe that there's a God. I don't believe nothing like that. But I do feel there was some kind of force, like a Jedi. May the force be with you always. Anyway, I do believe there was some kind of force that brought us together. I think the podcast and Stone was meant to happen. Because
Well, I did get my midi-chlorians tested, and they are pretty high.
I don't like mini-chlorians because they were only established in the fucking prequel movies, and nobody talks about those prequels. Anyway, it's not a Star
Anyway,
Wars podcast. It's podcast
not
and
today.
Stone. We're rambling.
So let me just explain a little bit. As a huge Maiden, Metallica, and Kiss fan, on social media, there's plenty of sites where I'm like part of different groups where it's dedicated to just Metallica bootlegs, and all day long, just people show their bootlegs. Or there's a Kiss vinyl site that I love called Kiss My Wax, and it's a site on Facebook dedicated to nothing but people sharing their Kiss albums. So I always didn't like. I was like, where are people showing their dark sagas? Where are people's different plagues of Babylon? So in the back of my mind, I always was disappointed that there wasn't one. So as I get into YouTube more and more, I would see a few interviews, which I always watch every interview, and I started seeing people's reviews of Iced Earth albums. And I was kind of like, I kind of want to do that. And then I by accident found the Kiss podcast, and I watched like 20 of them in 20 days. I'm like, this is great to hear people talking about the things that I like. Super fans talking about nerdy stuff. And I looked and looked for Iced Earth podcast. There was zero. And I was like, so back then I only knew one person that was in Iced Earth, and his name was Johnny Z. And I reached out to him and said, hey, would you like to do a podcast? And he said, no, not interested. Thanks. Good luck. So, I mean, he has a Iced Earth page. I forget what the name of it is. Anyway, so that night that he told me no, I sat down on YouTube, and there's a new video from a guy that has the Slaves of the Dark box set, and I saw that and your review of Alive in Athens. And I watched it like 3 times because I'm like, it's funny, my wife came in and I was sitting there cleaning my Alive in Athens box set. I was,
like,
wiping the vinyls down and looking at it and stuff. And she's like, what are you doing? I was like, this guy is doing this review. It's kind of cool. So I sent you a message that night, and I'll let you take over, Jason.
Yeah, so like basically the channels that Chuck is speaking of, because I've tried to do YouTube. I've had a couple of channels. I didn't really go anywhere, like because it's very hard to pinpoint a passion, and it's quite funny because I started that channel in particular was called Vinyl Valhalla, which was a channel where I would review new vinyl from obviously metal bands. But my content slowly became just me just talking about my Iced Earth collection, like just get a single piece out, like you said, like my Alive in Athens or my Slave to the Dark, and just talking about it, because I just wanted an avenue to talk Iced Earth because I love them so much.
Me too.
For the last 18 years, I've loved them, and I continue to do so, as everyone knows, who watches this podcast. But it's funny because I remember a friend of mine who watched that channel of mine said, Yeah, your content's really good, but you should really hold off on that Iced Earth stuff. It's getting you're doing too much Iced Earth. You don't want to put yourself in a hole. And I'm like, but it's my channel, and that's what I want to talk about because that's where the passion is. You know, I can talk about the latest Decapitated album, like everybody else. You know, I liked their new album, but I'd rather talk about Live in Athens for 20 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather do that. Hence why that video existed. Unfortunately, that channel doesn't exist anymore because I deleted it once Podcast and Stone really kicked off, and that kind of filled that void of me wanting to talk about Iced Earth, and that's where that kind of went. But yeah, you kind of you reached out and you were like, hey man, I really liked your Live in Athens video. You seem like you got a lot of passion. I'd like to do a podcast about Iced Earth. Would you want to do that? And this was like, I answered this email or whatever it was, like a message. I forget. I think it was a Facebook.
I looked up Vinyl Valhalla on Facebook.
Facebook message. I think it was like 5:15 in the morning. I was on my way to work, and I was just like, "Oh, who's this? Oh, yeah, sure." And I just was like, "Yeah, sure, man." Like, because like I knew it was gonna be niche. But I was just like, oh, cool, man. Someone to talk about Iced Earth with. That's my first thought. Was like, oh, awesome. Someone to talk about the band that I love. Because over here, there's not many people. There's no people that love the band as much as I do that I know. If you're a UK fan, you're in London. Let me know. We need to talk. But aside from that, there wasn't anybody. And yeah, I just thought it was The Vinyl Valhalla thing was a bit slowing down. I wasn't really feeling it with that channel, and I was just like, I just want to talk Iced Earth. Hence why my content was going more just me picking out an Iced Earth item out of my collection and talking about it. But yeah, so that's where it began. We had a chat on Facebook Messenger and on Skype. We used just a few conversations on Skype. And you was already a part of a Kiss podcast at the time as well, wasn't you?
I did 2 episodes on a Kiss podcast, and as soon as I started talking about it, which I'm a lifelong Kiss fan, I knew that that's not what I wanted to talk about. As much as I love certain Kiss albums, I didn't want to talk about Kiss Alive. I wanted to talk about Alive in Athens.
The best live album.
And my heart just wasn't in it. So once we started talking and my favorite part was our community on Facebook. I mean, I have several people that I talk to almost every day. Just, hey, I got this bootleg. Did you see this listing on eBay? That's exactly what I wanted, was people somewhere where people was talking about Iced Earth. Because they deserve that platform.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think, obviously for me, the podcast for me, when I said yes to it, was like, awesome, I get to talk about Iced Earth with somebody, right? But as we started doing it, it's crazy because it seemed to have blown up from day one. Like, that first episode, it kind of just like blew up, and you started the Facebook group, and we got members instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we quickly got subscribers quite quickly off that first episode. Looking back at that episode though, Chuck, oh god, the cringe.
I can't watch it.
The cringe is real. But yeah, I think after getting over the fact that I get to talk about Iced Earth with someone, but then obviously that'll be a podcast that goes out to people. Knowing that we when we started building that community and started building that kind of what I want to call an Iced Earth haven, where no matter your gender, sexuality, where you're from, if you love the band like we do, everyone's welcome. And I think the mission for me went from awesome, I've got someone to talk to about my band, to awesome, we're bringing these fans together in one place, right, and we're all talking about Iced Earth. That's what made it insane for me in the early first couple of episodes, which are really hard to watch because they're really bad.
Well, I remember John Greeley telling me after our first episode that you guys did a good job, but you need to have better light. You were in the dark. I'm like, well, John Greeley said that, I got to do it. So hence the different lighting.
He's the master of the Storm Rider. You got to listen to him, man.
Right. He wanted me to be in the light when I talked about Storm Rider. That's what it was.
It's really crazy as well because it's because like it's just when from what you know as well as I do, Chuck, that I did a review of Incorruptible on that old channel, didn't I? And it was rather negative. It was kind of like I was kind of really underwhelmed with Incorruptible to begin with. But when it's weird how your opinion changes over time. Like listening to Stu and listening to how enthusiastic Stu was about talking about Incorruptible, and really you can hear his pride in his voice and how he was so happy with how that album. I had to give it a second go, and I like that album a lot more than I did when I did that review for that old channel. And I think that's all thanks to this podcast. Because I don't think I would have really given that album a second go if it wasn't for the podcast and the fans that were behind that record, and also speaking to Stu himself about his experience doing it. And yeah, there's a lot of things that this podcast has brought that has kind of inspired me. Like, you know, me going to America this year, that's all because of the podcast. It's because I want to meet Bill, Gene, Mark Prater, Greg Seymour, you, Chuck, you know, JP if he's still coming along, Adam Ortiz if he can get down. Anyone that wants to play meet up in Florida that is a fan of this podcast, I want to meet you guys. Like that was a driving force for me to book this America trip. Because I've made so many friends, and I'm thankful for, like, this beginning of this year has been shit, in my opinion, for my personal life.
Right.
And everyone, the support network on our podcast group has been amazing. Everyone has been amazing, and I thank everyone for that support, because I was a bit of a mess at the beginning of the year. For, you know, I'm not gonna get into it. It's not really anyone's concern now. I think everyone kind of knows the reasons, but you know, even before the podcast, I was going through some bad times, and the podcast brought me back from, you know, from drowning, you know, from depression and stuff like that. So this podcast has really changed my life, and thank you, Chuck, for picking, out of all the funny people you sift through YouTube, you picked little old me. And I am little, because I guarantee when we meet, you're going to be like up here, and you'll be like, I'll be looking up at you going, hello, because I'm a tiny bastard.
6'1", sir.
Fuck, yeah, you're going to tower over me, sir. I'm like 5'5", I'm so small.
So, yeah, I enjoy our group. I love seeing, like, when the Purgatory EPs were starting to ship. It's cool seeing, you know, different countries, you know, like, okay, Europe's got them now. Okay, people in the States are. It's really cool. It's exactly what I wanted, to have people show their different vinyls and stuff, and it's great.
We got to talk. We got to talk about the Purgatory thing, because I feel sorry for most Americans and people from North America, because District Lines are doing a shockingly bad job at getting them out. Like, what the fuck are they doing?
Amazon was pretty fast, and I actually got my the first one I got was my German pre-order, so I got mine from Germany before I got it from anywhere else.
That doesn't make sense, though.
Not at all.
You would have thought,
and
like,
I'm still waiting on my Lilac from the US.
It's weird because, like, I got mine so quickly. Like, I got mine like day before it came out. I got mine like the Thursday.
Yeah, it's, you know, they're coming. I know people are getting their signed vinyls now, so you should get yours any day now. I'm waiting on my 5th and final Lilac vinyl, so I can't wait to add that to the collection. They look beautiful. Quick
plug, if I may. As you guys probably saw on the group, if not, look on the group, it's there. We showed off our test prints for our new t-shirts, the 100% dedicated t-shirts. They're not actually test prints, they're actually the proper prints, but they were just to show you guys the quality. They look great. I'm really happy with them. Yeah. We've sent 2 to John, because that was per our agreement with John, because it's got a set on it. John owns set, so we had to ask his permission before we sell those shirts, and all he really wanted in return was two shirts of his own. So hopefully we'll get a picture of John showing off them for us. That'd be great.
Yeah, even if it's just for a picture.
Yeah. So yeah, those t-shirts in particular will be available on Redbubble on the 30th of January. They're currently locked, so you can't buy them at the moment, but I will unlock them on the 30th of January.
I've seen the Gene Adam is awesome shirt on there, but I didn't see our just regular podcast one. Is that off of there now?
No, that's still there.
I couldn't find it.
Interesting.
So
that new shirt will be available 30th of January. We make no money off these shirts, just to let you know. Because on Redbubble you can adjust the profit margin of how much. Say like, oh yeah, you know, it's going to cost this much. If I raise it, if I want 50% cut from that sale, the price will go up. So what I've done on Redbubble to save people money, I've brought down the profit margin to 0%. So we make nothing to bring the savings to you guys. So if you're interested in the 100% dedicated Podcast and Stone shirt, 30th of January, redbubble.com/Podcast and Stone is the place to go. Just a little plug there.
Yes, I can't wait to see and order one.
They look really good. I was really happy.
Yeah.
They're not like the super high mega quality, but for what they're going to be costing, they look really good for what they're going to cost people. I'm really happy with the print, and that's all that matters. Is that the print looks good. I was worried because black print on black garment doesn't look too great. Well, it hasn't from that general manufacturer in the past, but this generally looks really good, so I'm really happy with it.
Cool.
Shall we get to some questions from the community?
Let's close out with a few last-minute questions.
Last-minute questions. I 1 hour ago, I gave the community literally an hour to throw out some questions for us, Chuck, and they answered. We got quite a good turnout, not a massive turnout, but what do you expect last minute? This would be a good way to close the episode today. Brandon Stone, he asks, let's say Iced Earth re-recorded a best of album with the current lineup. What one song from each album would you want to hear redone? Big hits, hidden gems, so many possibilities. I'll let you start with that.
Well, off the self-titled, the one I'd like to hear Stu sing the most is probably Life and Death.
Cool. For me, first album, it'll probably be Curse the Sky, because it's my favourite song.
Nice. Storm Rider, it would have to be Mystical End.
I'm with you 100%. Mystical End, hell yes. Love that song.
Yeah, I love it, and I wish it would have been on Days of Purgatory, but oh well. Off Burnt Offerings, I would have to say either Diary or I Love Pure Spirit.
Off Burnt Offerings, obviously we've had Dante's Inferno, so that doesn't count. Title track all the way. I think he'll sound awesome, on the title track. They all sound awesome.
Dark Saga, I think we'd be the same. I would pick Depths of Hell.
Yes, 100% Depths of Hell.
Something Wicked, I would probably do maybe My Own Savior, or I love him doing Melancholy at Kurion, so I'd probably say My Own Savior.
Something Wicked, I'd probably say Consequences, because I love that song, and I think Stu probably do a really good job on that one. And nobody talks about Consequences. Guys,
that's
Consequences,
my least favorite song on the album.
It's a fucking awesome song. Like, it's so underrated, man. Holy shit.
I'll start the Divide Devour shit again.
Yeah, dog shit song. That's a If you haven't seen that awesome new picture that Richard Clark done for us, shout out to Richard Clark. Awesome artist.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome little... It was my idea. It was my concept, but he done a cracking job bringing that to life. Like, it just... I just love it. It's great. Right.
Horror show, I would pick Damien, because I love the way he did it on Kurion. But I love Jekyll and Hyde, too.
Jekyll and Hyde would be my pick, yeah. Jekyll and Hyde. I would like to. I would like to hear him do Phantom Opera's Ghost, but I wouldn't know who could they get to do female vocals.
I'm sure the lady in Indiana would still be available. Uni Persifeld or something like that is her name?
The girl that actually sung on the original. Yeah, cool. Glorious Burden.
I think after hearing Seven-Headed Whore, I think he would. God, what's that song?
The Reckoning.
What? Yeah, The Reckoning.
That was my pick, as well. So
I think that they kind of remind me of those songs, remind me of each other. So I would pick The Reckoning. But there's really no bad answer for Glorious Burden either.
Yeah, Glorious Burden is mostly like great track after great track. I still think he done Declaration Day fucking awesome on Curion. So I think either one of those would be great.
How about Framing?
Man, I'm just gonna come out of it. I've thought about, because I saw this question obviously like before we started, because obviously I commented underneath it. I thought about, because if they record any album, I'm excited if they get to Frame Armageddon, because I think that album's got so much potential to be more streamlined, if that makes sense. But if we're going to pick one song, I really thought about this before we came on to record, and I think Stu would kill Charge to Keep. I think Charge to Keep would be amazing with Stu on. And the other guy, bear in mind, we're not just saying Stu, we mean everyone, like, Jake, Brent, everyone. I think everyone would kill it. I think it'd be great.
I would also pick Charge to Keep because I love the live version on the Festivals of the Wicked DVD. And then that takes us to Crucible. I would go Crucify the King or Harbinger, but I'd probably pick Crucify.
I would say Divide Devour because he actually might make it a good song.
Nice, we agree. And I'd say we probably stop there because after that is Dystopia. So
yeah,
that's a great question, though.
Yeah, I don't see the point of them.
Yeah.
Of them redoing the Stu albums. Like, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't want. I just think I don't really want to. Like, obviously you always have the originals, but like it's hard to pick a song off of the last 3 albums because they've already got Stu, so there's nothing new to hear there, if that makes sense. Obviously you can have Jake playing Troy stuff. That's the only difference, really.
Right. And a side note for Tribute to the Gods, I would have Screaming for Vengeance.
Hell yes, you would. Hell yeah, it's a bit of fucking Priest. He nailed that Painkiller cover on that 7,000 Tons of Metal cruise.
Yeah, I'd love an excellent quality version of that.
Oh, so good. It has to be said, Stu's a fucking monster. Like, vocally, he's fucking. You couldn't ask for a better. You couldn't ask for a better replacement for Matt. Like, we've gone over this, but I just want to reiterate: you really couldn't ask for a better replacement. He fucking just nails it. Love you, Stu, man. Okay. Fucking, you're a dude. You're a beast.
Thank you, Brandon, for that question.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. That was an awesome question. Like, this kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier. Richard Clark asks, Jason, if Chuck never reached out to you, do you think you'd ever start? Do you think you'd ever start a podcast based on Iced Earth or any podcast at all? Funny you say that, because I used to do a podcast with a friend of mine. It was a heavy metal podcast called Harbinger of Steel, and we'd done about maybe 6 episodes, and it just me and my friend, our schedule just didn't line up anymore, and we found it harder and harder to like find time to do it, and it just kind of just fizzled out.
Is it still out there, or did you delete them?
No, that was on my old channels that I deleted. Sorry. We tried to rebrand it and start again. We called it the Fat Metal Bastards because we're both fat and we eat too much. We called it the Fat Metal Bastards podcast, but we did about 2 episodes in that, and obviously the same shit happened where we couldn't get the time together, unfortunately. But yeah, I've tried podcasts before, but they weren't Iced Earth centric. The idea for Harbinger still originally was like, we would come in, we would choose a band each to kind of put a spotlight on and say, I recommend this band, you should listen to it, and we would describe what they like. That was the kind of idea for that. But I just, time just wasn't on our side for that. I loved doing it. It was a lot of fun, but time just didn't really hold out on that. I don't think I would ever be here if it wasn't for Chuck, to be honest, because I was at that point where I was trying to chase the YouTube money, and that's a terrible thing to chase when you want to make content, because I should be making content. That's why it kind of, the Vinyl Valhalla channel kind of feels that, because I was trying to, like, I was always worried about views. I was always worried. Always worried about subscriber count, and there's always panicking over that kind of stuff, because I wanted to, like, be like these big YouTubers that, that's what they do for a career. I didn't want to work for the system anymore. I wanted to do something for me. Maybe that's why that failed, and why I kind of lost interest in that stuff, because I was doing it for the wrong reasons. And then when Chuck came to me about this podcast, I didn't think about that stuff. All I thought about was like, yeah, man, fucking, I love Iced Earth. I want to talk about them. And yeah, I don't think I would have done that. I think if Chuck found somebody else, I'd just be doing shit on YouTube that no one cares about. But yeah, that's about that, really. Richard, thank you for your question. I like this question because I don't understand it at all. Andrew Edwards asks, Jason, why do you sound like David Beckham? But I don't know. David Beckham sound like this. Hello there, I'm David Beckham. How you doing? Yeah. He's got more of a higher voice like that. I don't sound like that, do I, Chuck? What are you talking about?
I don't know what David Beckham sounds like, to be honest.
He's got a really high-pitched voice, like, hello there, I'm David Beckham. Like, no, I do not sound... skip this question. I'm skipping this question. It's done. I don't get it. I don't think I sound like him at all. I'm not even from Manchester. He's from Manchester. I don't get it. Anyway, I'm joking on my own laughter. Charlie Espinosa, I do apologise if I butchered your name, because I tend to butcher names on this podcast. The Butchered Name Podcast. That's what it should be called. He asked, Jason, how's the singing coming along? I think it's coming on well. I think I'm learning things. I've kind of found my voice a little bit. I'm kind of stronger at the low, kind of more kind of baritone, kind of lower vocal than I am kind of trying to sing at a higher register. I think I really, really can't sing at a high register at all. It's really hard, man. Especially when you're trying to sing 10,000 strong. Don't try to sing 10,000 strong. It's really hard. Matt Barlow even gave me some advice. He said, don't sing 10,000 strong. It's really hard.
That's great advice. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, I think my progression is okay. I'm really considering just actually going and getting vocal lessons and getting the proper advice from a proper singer. Matt Barlow, if you're listening, I'm up for it. He also asks, are either of you guys going to Prog Power for Demons and Wizards in Atlanta in September? If anyone in the group is, Podcast and Stone group meetup. Well, unfortunately, I am going to be in the US in September, but I'm going to be in Florida. And I don't plan to fly out to Atlanta from Florida. And by that point, I would have already seen Demons and Wizards in the London show. What about you, Chuck?
I considered it, and they wouldn't sell just the one-day pass. You had to buy it for the whole weekend.
Right.
And to be honest, everybody on the bill didn't impress me at all. And I just didn't want to make the trip just to pay that much for just Demons.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping. I got some concerts coming up this year. I'm going to see Maiden is coming to my city, so I'm excited about that. And
sorry, I've just seen this next question. It just made me laugh.
So no, I won't. I'm hoping that they do another show closer.
Yeah, I've heard Prog Power's really good though. I've heard that's a good festival up there. This next question has made me laugh because it's just dumb. Adam Ortiz, I love you, brother. He asks, will there be re-recordings of the first 3 podcast episodes?
There might be remastered recordings.
There could be. We could redo those, but would anyone really want that though? Because then
what's funny?
Because then people would want the rest, so we'd just be repeating ourselves. Like
over the couple of years, my opinions change on albums. Because I'm sure if we talked about Incorruptible in a year, my opinions would be way different.
But I just don't want to rehash material that we've already done. I know we've talked about certain, we do cover things over and over again, but I don't want to dedicate an episode on an album that we've already dedicated an episode to. Do you know what I mean?
The good news is there's tons of stuff coming up still, and there's plenty of releases and other things to go on that I don't think we're going to have to repeat ourselves.
At the end of the day, like we haven't done our retrospective, whatever you want to call them, retrospective reviews, whatever you want to call them. We haven't done those episodes about the side stuff yet. Like I still want to do an Ashes of Aries, review, like each album, like one episode for one album, one episode for the other. I want to do Demons for one album, the second episode for the second album. I want to do those. Witherfall, yeah, I've not even got around to listening to that band yet. I need to. I do apologise, Jake, if you're watching, but I just haven't got around to listening to them, man.
Amazing.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, makes me wonder though, because Adam's question made me laugh originally because I just think it's really funny because it kind of coincides with John's original plan for re-recording the first 3 albums. Oh, you should re-record the first 3 podcast episodes. Like, yeah, they're cringe to look back at them, but I don't know how we're better at collecting our thoughts now and kind of bouncing off each other and talking about stuff, and we've got more of a proper kind of like a what's the word?
We got a formula.
We got a formula that we kind of do for those retrospectives, which probably could make the episode streamlined. But I don't know whether my opinions have changed. I still love the self-titled the same. I still love Storm Rider the same. I still love Burnt Offerings. I don't know what else we can really bring to those episodes if we've redone them. And I think they're not that old, so I don't see the point. I still think you still can get what we're trying to get across in those episodes by watching them as they are, because that's how they were. And
they're classics. Enjoy the classics.
Classic podcast in stone, guys. The last question of the day. What's this? Right, okay. Ed Matthews asks, I guess knowing something additional that we would not know. Best Iced Earth moment, or six degree to Iced Earth thing. I don't know what that means. Like other bands that you love as much as Iced Earth. Also, what would you like to do in 2019 for the podcast? Right, what does six degree to Iced Earth mean? I don't know. I don't know what it means by that. I'm a bit lost.
I know, but it's hard to explain. What's the other parts of the question again?
Best Iced Earth moment.
Like ever, or just last year?
I'm guessing best moment ever. I'm guessing.
Wow, that'd be hard to pick.
It's weird because
I say that the coolest, most recent one is, well, of course, the Purgatory EP is an amazing thing in history. But Matt joining Stu on stage was an awesome moment also.
When it comes to moments for me, I always think of moments that I experienced firsthand. So my first Iced Earth show was incredible as a show, but the moment in that show that I will always remember, I remember the lights going dark, the crowd erupting, and that intro to Dystopia kicking, and everyone going mental. Like that, that kind of thing. I remember. That's even before the bands come on stage. Just the atmosphere and the vibe and the fans going crazy, and I'm literally screaming my lungs out, going yeah, because it's like my first time to see them. That moment before they come on stage was like elation. Like I've made it to heaven or something. Like I'm like fucking yeah. And to know I had VIP and I was going to meet them afterwards, like losing my mind. Like,
yeah, me too.
Those precious few minutes of that Dystopia intro before they came on stage, that whole moment of like, I'm at the front, I'm here, holy fuck, like, yeah. That was a moment I'm always going to remember, and no show is going to kind of come close to that feeling that moment had. Really kind of like waited 11 years for that. It's fucking crazy. When it comes to like, and there's other little moments like when I was on my PC at 2 in the morning back in 2008, and ISEV announced that Matt Barlow's coming back to the band.
Matt Barlow's back.
I was like,
Sure.
just elation all over, like, holy fuck. And it was 2 a.m, so I couldn't talk to nobody. I wanted to fucking call my friend, but I couldn't. It was like 2 a.m. I was like, God damn it. But yeah, there's little moments like that were like really like I felt like so hyped. Right, he also asks, other bands that you love as much as Iced Earth?
Well, for me, I'm a wave this flag again. Witherfall is my second favorite band, but I enjoy my big three have always been Maiden, Metallica, and Kiss, behind Iced Earth.
Cool. There is no other band that I love more than that I love as much as
Yeah.
There's no band that is par, because if a band was par, I'll probably will do another podcast about that. But there's not another band that's on par with Iced Earth in my opinion. Iced Earth are there's no band tops Iced Earth for me. A band that comes close that I really like, that are really good, they're fucking great live. Battle Beast, female fronted metal from Finland. They're really good. Every album has been quality. They're about to drop their fifth album actually this year. Looking forward to that. They're really good. Basically, I've always described them as like if Judas Priest was Finnish. That's what if Judas Priest was from Finland and had a female singer, that's what you're getting with Battle Beast. They're great. I love them. And at the moment, like, I don't know, like you say, like, oh, bands that I love as much as I do. Like, obviously, there's no band that I love as much as them, but there's bands that I love, do you know what I mean? Like, there's still bands that I love. At the moment, there's some great bands out there, man. Like, probably nothing that a lot of people would expect, but, like, really disgusting underground sludge bands that I like Conan, who I'm seeing this Sunday. They're playing a really tiny, intimate show in London that I'm seeing. I've got my ticket there. But they're like a sludge doom band from Liverpool in the UK, and they're just fucking quality. I love them. And yeah, they're still bands that I love, just not as much, just not on this scale. Sure. I don't know what else to say about that. And he also asks, what would you like to do in 2019 for the podcast? Recording the episode in Florida with Chuck, Bill, Gene, with everybody. That's what I want to do. Get us all together and do a video, man. That's what I want to do. That'd be amazing.
I'd say just keep cool guests coming and keep relevant episodes.
Just keep making episodes, man. Like, that's what I want to do. I think like these kind of episodes of us just bull crapping. It's an episode. I just enjoy just talking bollocks for half an hour.
Right.
It's fun. Like, it's good.
And our interview ones are always going to get better numbers. I get that.
Speaking of
I love doing the interviews.
Yeah, man. It's crazy that we're able to talk to our heroes.
Right. We've got. Amazing. I mean, on deck we got Gene. We've had schedule conflict with Witherfall because it's hard to get 4 people on the same. We got Freddie is still going to come on and talk Ashes with us. John Greeley is going to be on to promote his next EP. No
doubt we'll get Brent for his new venture.
And I hope we get Brent and Luke for their April albums coming out. April's a big month. Enter the Realm, Luke Appleton, and God, what's Brent's project name? Eye of something?
Eternal Odyssey.
Eternal Odyssey. Damn, I was off. I don't have it in front of me to see it and listen to it yet, so.
It's funny because like we said, like, 2018 was a great time to be an Iced Earth fan. I still think 2019 is going to be the same thing. It's just going to be the same. Like I don't see this Iced Earth related train stopping anytime soon. I think we got like you said, we got Luke, we got Brent, we got Demons, You know.
Demons reissues, and we also have Alive in Athens.
Yeah. Enter the Realm. Hang on, what am I missing?
Fingers crossed for some more Jacob's Well.
Witherfall just released that acoustic vinyl.
The Witherfall EP is due out in March. I've already pre-ordered my CD and vinyl. Beautiful green. Go to Witherfall's website now to pre-order.
Man, they need to hire you as their marketer, because you're just like plug. Dun, 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 dun.
You know what? I didn't know about them until I saw Joseph sing for Sanctuary on the Incorruptible tour, and I was like, why am I not all over this Witherfall?
I've got the best answer for his "What do you want to do in 2019 for the podcast?" I've got the best answer, Chuck. To not
What?
end. There you go. I don't plan for us to end in 2019. Why would we?
No,
There's so much going on.
no Skype update can hold us back.
No, and they thought that Skype could hold them back. The beast known as Microsoft used all its power to stop the mighty Podcast in Stone. But unknowns to it, Podcast in Stone was stronger than all the mighty Super Saiyans in the Dragon Ball. I'm going into different territory now. But unknowns to Microsoft, the power of Podcast in Stone was endorsed by John Schaefer himself, and thus, even with a torn bicep, they will plow through the wall of Microsoft and get back to doing the podcast. I'm rambling. Shall I take us home, Chuck?
Take us home, Jason.
I'm just very happy that we got the fucking Skype back to normal. Game. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. I've been Jason. I've been joined as always with the incomparable Chuck Hoskins. We are Podcast in Stone. We are the only podcast 100% dedicated to Iced Earth. And that is a fact, my friends.
Motherfucking Earth.
Yes, indeed. We'll see you next time. Well, I'm sure Gene's next, right? I'm sure of it.
Gene should be next.
Enjoy it. Look forward to that, guys. So, yeah.
The current Purgatory singer. Last time he was the previous. Now he's the current.
Now he's the lead singer of Purgatory. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Be sure to punch that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not, and press the bell to be notified for more Podcast in Stone content. Join the group if you have not, because the group is always flourishing. We've got tons of members from the band: Jake, Matt Barlow, Gene Adam, Bill Owen, just bunch of former and current members popping up from time to time to say hello. So yeah, jump on the group, get involved. Keep Iced Earth alive, guys. Metal lives, my friends. Stay metal. See you later.